Tangan kanan naik setinggi telinga. Jari 5 berjari. Apakah artinya itu? Negara kita telah merdeka. Suara mengguntur mengucapkan salam nasional merdeka. Dan kita siap sedia mempertahankannya, walau dengan jalan yang bagaimanapun juga. Merdeka!
The family, we were just all at home. The kids, my sister-in-law was in the house, my 2 children, and Hood was there. I think, as I recollect, I just got on a car and went to work.
The 30th of September, I was at home with my children. The 30th.
That evening, the 30th of September, I was invited to go with some other embassy people out to a shadow play being staged in a village outside of Jakarta. And it was a lot of fun. And we were there until, I think it was almost 1 o'clock, 1:30 when we left.
On the night of September 30, 1965, I was in Jakarta. In fact, along with a number of other diplomats, I attended a wayang kulit performance, actually not too far from the home of General Yane, one of the generals who was murdered later that night.
On the 30th of September 1965, 6 of Indonesia's most senior generals were dragged from their beds and brutally murdered. The events of this night led to the bloody mass destruction of the largest communist party outside China and the Soviet Union. It proved to be a major turning point at the height of the Cold War, when the West would help an Indonesian general seize power to become one of the most ruthless dictators of the 20th century. The United States, Britain, and Australia had desperately wanted to see the overthrow of this man, Sukarno, the first president of Indonesia. Sukarno's allegiances were too ambiguous for the black and white politics of the Cold War. 500,000 of his supporters were to be brutally slaughtered when his balancing act failed. But buried deeper than the hidden bodies is the story of the West's involvement and of the deadly propaganda war that still obscures the truth to this day. Popular understanding of what happened came from the reporting of a few Western journalists who were in Indonesia at the time. But it was a difficult story to cover, and what they did report was manipulated, cut, and buried in the back pages. This film tells the tragic story of what many would still prefer remain buried as a forgotten footnote of the Cold War. The man who came to power, General Suharto, established one of the most durable and corrupt family regimes of our time. He and his army have the sinister distinction of murdering more of their own people than any other regime supported by the West. More than 30 years later, after massive popular revolt, General Suharto finally falls.
Berhenti dari jabatan saya sebagai Presiden Republik Indonesia. Terhitung sejak saya bacakan pernyataan ini.
With General Suharto out of power, some Indonesians now feel bold enough to question the corrupted versions of their history. One untold story is about to be revealed in the mountains of Java as the first mass graves are finally opened. Joyo Santoso is the only member of his family who now feels it is safe enough to talk about his brother who lies buried here.
Kakak saya namanya adalah Ibnu Santoro MA, Master of Arts. Di sini adalah dibunuh, kemudian ditembak, kemudian dimasukkan ke dalam lubang, ya, 2 lubang yang ditumpuk satu persatu.
Ibnu Santoro was dumped in this hidden grave, along with 22 others branded as communist sympathizers. Another legacy of General Suharto was hundreds of thousands of political prisoners. One of those was Dr. Sumiasi, who was a pediatrician in the capital, Jakarta.
Yeah, I stayed in prison 11 years in 10 places. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Dr. Sumiasi was arrested without warrant, then detained without trial for allegedly being associated with the Indonesian Communist Party, the PKI.
My crime is only that I was member of the HSI, and the HSI, it is the Indonesian Scientist Organization. It's a legal organization, but they think that the HSI was a branch of the PKI because HSI always worked for the people, and the army, they are very stupid. They are very stupid, very, very stupid.
It is only now, too, that those forced into exile are finally free to return. Like Carmel Budiarjo, an English woman who settled in Indonesia in the 1950s.
I returned to Indonesia as part of the victory of the Indonesian people in getting rid of Suharto, because as long as Suharto remained in power, I would never have been able to get back.
Carmel Budiarjo spent 4 years as a prisoner of Suharto.
My name was still there on the blacklist, even though I have a visa. They were under the impression that they would have to go to the commander of the army to get clearance for me. And then suddenly, everything vanished, all the problems vanished, and they said, oh, you can go in, it's all right.
Carmel is now a human rights campaigner. Her friends hope that her visit will help break the conspiracy of silence about the events of 1965. Who was this leader of Indonesia that the anti-communist West was keen to depose?